Hello everyone, my name is Praveen Jangid and I am pursuing my Bachelor of Technology degree from Government Engineering College, Jhalawad, Rajasthan in Computer Science and Engineering Department, and I am presenting a presentation on Python programming language. It is submitted to Mr. Anil Prajapati sir. Now, let's start, and firstly we need to know about program. What is program? Program is one or more algorithm written in a programming language that can be translated to run on a real machine. Now we need to learn about programming language. What is programming language? A programming language is somewhat like a natural language, but with a very limited set of statements and strict syntax rules. And now let's start introduction to Python. Now we will learn about Python. And firstly, introduction to Python is a high level programming language, open source and community driven language. Its batteries include in Python's dynamic typed language and etc. Now, why we use Python, not other language? The reason behind this that unlike AML and Avenue, there is a considerable base of developers already using the language. Can interface by Python, we can interface with the component object model used by Windows. Now, why not Visual Basics? The Visual Basic is still the method of configuring the and customizing ArcMap. If you have a button on the toolbar, it's a Visual Basic. Python scripts can be placed in Arc Toolbox, and Python can be run from the command line without ArcMap and ArcCatalog being open. Python interface. By Python interface, first we know IDLE, a cross-platform Python development environment. Python Win, a Windows-only interface to Python. Python shell running Python from the command line opens this interactive cells. IDLE development environment is IDLE help you program in Python by the IDLE is helping us that what program we write and how it will be write, the color coding, debugging, auto indent, interactive cells, etc. The example of Python is hello world example. Now we take hello world example, and it simply print by execute a statement print hello world in the IDLE. More than just printing, Python is an object oriented language. Practically everything can be treated as an object. Hello world is a string. Now, string methods. String has some methods. Assign a string to a variable. String string must be assigned to a variable. In this case, HW is a prefix. String methods. String held in your variable remains the same. The method returns an altered string. Now, Python objects. Now we use Python objects. That firstly lists. List 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 is a mutable sets of strings, and tuples. It immutable sets. Dictionaries are associative array on hashes. Each has its own set of methods. Now list. Think of a list as a stack of cards on which your information is written. The information says in the order you placed it in until you modify that order. List method is adding to the list variable, assign a variable to object. It means we replace n with object and adds object to the end of the list by statement var dot append and object. List in Arc Toolbox, you will create list layer as inputs, attributes to match array of objects. Tuples. Like a list, tuples are iterable arrays of objects. Tuples are immutable, once created unchangeable. To add or remove items, you must redeclare. Now, dictionaries. Dictionaries are set of key and values pair. Allow you to identify values by a descriptive name instead of order in a list. Keys are unordered unless explicit sorted. Now, indentation and blocks. Python uses white space and indents to donate blocks of code. Lines of code that begin a block end in a colon. Lines within the code block are indented at the same level. The conditional branching, if else conditional statements, if and else, if variable equals to condition, if variable satisfies the condition, then do something based on condition, else, and something based on that condition not satisfies. Now looping with for. Now we understand about the for loop. For allows you to loop over a block of code a set number of times. For is great for manipulating lists. Now modules. Modules are additional pieces of code that further extend Python's functionality. A module typically has a specific function. Python comes with many useful modules. Files. Files are manipulated by creating a file object. F equals to open points.txt or R. Error capture. Check for type assignment error, items not in a list, etc. Try and accept. Try a block of code that might have an error. Accept code is execute if an error occurs in try. Now, Python. Python is a real-world production language that is freely available for most computers. If you want a copy of Python to use with a course, now Python uses an interpreter. Not only can we write complete program, we can work with the interpreter in a statement by statement mode and enabling us to experiment quite easily. Language terminology. Now language terminology is syntax, semantics, etc. Now syntax the formal rules of legal statements in the language, and semantics the meaning of the statement. What happens when the statement is executed is semantic. Constructs of programming, that execution flow of instructions. Sequential flow, simply do steps one after the other in order they are listed. Conditional flow, decide which statement to do next based on the some true and false test. Iterative, a set of statements is repeated over and over until the same condition is met. The basic pattern is most of our program will use the basic pattern of get some user input, perform some algorithm to the input, provide result as output. Now, keywords. Keywords are reserved words that have special meaning in the Python language. Because they are reserved, they cannot be used as identifier. Example of keyword are if, while, etc. Variables in Python. A variable has a name, which means identifier. A data type can be integer, float, string, etc. Storage space sufficient for the type. Numeric data type. This type of integer. This type is for whole numbers, positive or negative. Example 23 and minus 1756. And float. This type is for numbers with possible fraction parts. Integer operators. The operator for integers are addition, subtraction operator, multiplication operator, divide operator, and remainder operator. Python assignment statement. In Python, equal is called the assignment operator, and an assignment operator has the form variable equal expression. What about floats? Now we know about floats. When computing with floats, slash will indicate regular division with fractional results. Constants will have a decimal point. Numerical input. To get numerical input from the user, we use an assignment statement of the form variable equals to input and prompt. Here prompt would be replaced by a prompt for the user inside quotation marks. Now print statement. For output, we use statement of the form print and expression. Thank you.